Hey guys, we are back from our trip, and one of my favorite things, okay, there's a lot of good things, but the fun thing that, well, it's fun for me because I'm a nerd, but the way back, Nick and I started listening to The Power of Habit, Why We Do What We Do by Charles Duhigg. I've talked about this book before. I've read about it. It's probably been like 5 years now, but I haven't listened to it before. I'm still working on Rewire, but I just love the Power book. If you've ever listened to or read a Malcolm Gladwell book, highly recommend them. But it has the same kind of style. Like Nick was like captivated. It has lots of stories on personal stories, corporate stories, like it's totally stuff I nerd out on. But anyways, I'm bringing that up because I wanted to talk about eliminating bad habits. This month is all about building positive habits. Tracking is a good way to do it. Understanding the habit loop. If you haven't watched any of those videos and you're still like, okay, I'm really not getting any traction with a tracker, maybe that whole self-awareness we talked about, but understanding that there is always a trigger which cues a behavior, like a routine, and then that routine gives you a reward. And one thing that's not really like in that loop necessarily is what Charles Duhigg references in his book. He's referencing it from someone else, is that craving. What do you feel like? What is it that makes you want to do that? And so that can be a little bit tricky, but if you have questions on like, what is your craving? Maybe that craving could be what's different. Maybe you could crave fitting into your jeans. For me, like I crave looking in the mirror and like liking how I can see some definition around my body type of thing. Like I crave that when I look in the mirror. So for me, I think it's a no-brainer, but it could sound a little weird. Definitely recommend that book for one. But onto the bad habits idea. This is what's considered the golden law or golden rule of habit change. And it's not anything to do with the trigger or the reward. The trick, they say, is to keep those two things the same and find a different action that is better. So for me, and I think this is in the habit loop video that I posted, for me, Shakeology was that different action that was healthier. My kids went down for a nap. That was my key. That was the trigger. That was my cue. I went to the pantry, got out the Nutella. And I felt so good. I felt like I was doing something for me. It was sweet. It was chocolatey. It was kind of like I was cheating. And so I subbed in Shakeology instead of Nutella at that time because it was still something just for me. Like that was a treat. It was a treat for me. It was new. It was a little more money than I, was like, oh yeah, no, whatever. Like Nutella, I'll just buy like a jar of Nutella. But Shakeology was special because it cost money, a lot of money. And that was just one way that I subbed out an action for a more favorable one. And that's like the secret to changing a bad habit. You have to keep the same reward and you have to keep the same trigger. Now, that being said, you can modify different triggers. It could be like driving different ways to work. If you're trying to just avoid, going by a certain restaurant that you would pop in the drive-thru with, or that's just the first thing that came to my mind. Like you can alter your environment to tailor your triggers, if you will. If it's related to nap time or something like that, well, you're not really going to change that time good. So your kids stop napping. But hopefully that kind of gives you some stuff to think about. If there's specific bad habits you're trying to look at, your To Be Mindset talks about some where the nighttime snacking is a big deal. Now, it's a big deal in our family. We'd sit on the couch, we watch TV with a bowl of chips. And that's not just us. Like, a lot of people do that. And maybe that's kind of where your downfall is, too. You do good all day, and then nighttime happens, and you're like, meh. So that's where she recommends, I say she, the creative To Be Mindset, Ilana. I can't remember her last name. But they have, like, To Be Mindset is so good because they have all these little mantras that you can say to yourself, and they're spaced throughout the book, so you get to know them, you get to remember them. I watched the videos once and I remember them all. It's awesome. That's why they have good scientists that know how to make stuff sticky. This is a sticky program, if you're interested in that. But 2 hands on the wheel is one of them. And instead of it being a bowl, it's like a big old mug of tea or like a big mug of like bone broth or something. Something that is healthy for you and it keeps your hands occupied, but without causing the damage, that a bowl of chips or 5 bowls of chips would do. Something else I have done is I will hold, I've done like, I'm crazy, but I know how to knit. So I've done knitting where my hands are busy. or I will just hold something, or I'll be folding laundry at that time instead of a different time. Definitely not the same reward necessarily, the folding laundry, but the scarf is cool. Like I get to see something I made versus just at the bottom of a bowl. So just some ideas if you are working on this. But again, start with that self-awareness. Start with, what is it, that you need to change or that you want to change, and then get to know yourself. Pay attention. Don't say this to yourself in a judgmental voice, but in a self-discovery, like a learning voice. You've never done this before. It's all new. And we go through phases where we have more stamina to change, and our situation is better in life to change. Going through a move is not a good time to make big changes. But it kind of is a good way to reestablish that routine and, practice that self-discipline. And remember, anything new takes self-discipline. For some reason, it's no big deal for me to go to a bag of chocolate-covered pretzels every day. I can pick that habit up real quick. But, the journaling and taking time to rest, that is harder. But disciplines are hard, and they take work at the beginning, and eventually they become habits. So that's what I look forward to. The next video, we'll probably have this one, and then maybe one more on the habits theme is going to be willpower, because that's a lot of excuses that I have gotten from people, like, I don't have the willpower to stick with something, and how it's maybe a little bit more of a myth, but more than likely a muscle. So hope you guys are doing well. Thank you for bearing with me over my week of craziness, and I'm excited to get back on track. Excited that April's almost here. I didn't want to wish away March, but I'm really excited for April.